Hey, it's the Reckless Retiree here, giving you an update on my hydrogen cell. I had a previous video that showed how I finally got my cell working, and I made a sufficient amount of hydrogen with it. I was pretty excited about that, you might remember. And so I took it out to my furnace mock-up and tried to heat up the furnace to another level with the hydrogen I was making with the cell. But what I did was I had a propane burner, small propane cast iron burner that I bought, and I surrounded that with fire brick, and I put my crucible on it, my large crucible, and was heating that up with the propane burner. I had some borax, some borax and some boric that's what I'm trying to say, boric acid. I was told in the instructions with the new crucible to take a mix of those two things, boric acid and boraxo, and heat them up to molten, and then slosh that around in the crucible to seal it. And I've attempted to do that for a while and never have gotten hot enough. And so I was hoping I'd get hot enough with this process. So I started on the propane burner and heated it up, had a thermocouple in the mix inside, and got 300-400 degrees with the propane. And then I turned on the hydrogen cell, and the temperature that had stabilized with the propane started to climb again, indicating that yes, in fact, I was getting more heat with the hydrogen. Unfortunately, the crucible exploded into pieces, and so I had to throw that away. It was a waste of some good chunk of money. And I have a smaller crucible, maybe about this big, that I'm going to try to proceed with. I have it inside the house now, and hopefully it'll dry out and warm up. And I think the problem is that I had left the large crucible out in the elements for a long time, and it got moist, and so maybe the moisture in the graphite got to a certain temperature and expanded enough to blow it up. That's my guess. I don't really know. So anyway, the next step from that was I had relatives coming over, and I wanted to show my son-in-law my cell, and so I ran it, made some hydrogen by myself, made sure it was working fine. Then I took him out to show him. And I had a hose that it was the gas hose that went to the bubbler, and it was twisted, and it backed up the pressure enough that it ignited the hydrogen and blew a hole in the gas hose, and then it started to short out. So I'd hit another dead end in my maze, and so I was trying to figure out how to proceed. I had made the cell, put it together, and measured the resistance between the bolts, bolting going through the end plates, bolting it all together, and the electrodes, or the wires that go to the electrical plates, and I wasn't getting infinity. And so that made me realize there was an issue, but I went ahead and, since I had it together, I went ahead and tried it, and it was working. It was working, making gas. So when later, when I was showing my son-in-law and it shorted, I realized maybe that was a problem. So I took it apart, cleaned it all up, and now I'm redoing it, but I'm doing it with different end plates. I'm doing it with the plexiglass end plates that most of the guys online have. This is 1/2-inch plexiglass, and so obviously it's not going to short against them. The electrodes aren't going to short against the plexiglass. Plus I have a rubber gasket between it and that plate to seal the liquid in, but also additional insulation. But I'm a little concerned that this plexiglass may not be strong enough to take the pressure. See, I have to draw the bolts really tight because a lot of my plates that I made, I cut out with snips, tin snips, and then they got warped, and I haven't been able to get them flat. And so to get them flat, I have to put a lot of pressure on the end plates. So I made these steel end plates to go on the outside of the plexiglass. So I'm hoping that the pressure will be taken by the steel. Steel will be strong enough not to flex, because somewhere here, right here in front of me, I have the old aluminum end plates, and as you can see, they warped pretty badly when I put a lot of pressure on them, pulled the corners in, made the corners bend, warping the plates, affecting the seal, requiring more pressure, and then I just had a rubber seal on the inside of those plates, but I'm thinking that allowed the negative and positive plates to short out. So that's scrapped. Aluminum scrapped. I'm starting over again with these other, and now I'm building the cell. As you can see, I have it about maybe a third put together. Also, one other modification I have made is I put these dots of electrical tape in the center of each plate to, in case they were touching in the center, shorting out in the center. So I'm trying to take all the precautions. I got tape around the edge of each stainless steel plate. I have the rubber gaskets, obviously, and then I have the tape in the center, and I'm hoping with the plexiglass end plates that it will be infinity resistance. In other words, no kind of short between the electrical plates, the plus and negative plate, and the outer part of the cell. I think I showed you before that I have my bolts holding it together taped. So doing everything I can possibly can to make it neutral or to reduce the conductivity where it shouldn't be going. It should just be between the plates in the causing a charge between the plates, allowing that breakdown of hydrogen and oxygen. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to continue to put the plates together. I have to go to the store and get some. I have these. I have these connectors here, but I don't want to have a straight out on the end plates because they're going to go up to the bubbler and up to the reservoir of fluid. Oh, and one other thing I'm going to do after watching additional YouTube videos on HHO, I'm not going to have my bubbler filled with water. I'm going to have it filled with hexane, and that's going to give me a better flame, better heat, and according to the guy who was showing it, it won't allow any flashback. So that's what modifications I'm now doing, and I'll get back to you after I get the cell together.